Welcome to Valencia then. 2-1. Oh, sorry, they were leading, of course, 1-0 at one stage, losing 2-1 in the end, leaves them rock bottom with Madrids. Sid Lowe, of course, was at the game with us. He joins us now from Mestalla. Sid, forgive me because I'm going to ask you to try and read between the lines here, and I'm asking you for something that maybe you'll not be able to give us. But Ancelotti, after the game, went off about it's not a red card, they're going to appeal, blah, blah, blah. How much of a distraction is that? Because we said, look, OK, you can question the way, the manner in which the goalkeeper went down, but why is Vinicius Jr. even opening the door by raising his hands to an opponent? So how much is Ancelotti saying that up front to the media, protecting his players? And how much do you feel there is a genuine frustration now that we're seeing this at such high frequency from his star player?
Well, look, I think that the way that Ancelotti said it wasn't, if you like, kind of a determined defence. It was much calmer. It was much more evenly toned in the way that he delivered it. And he said that, you know, we thought that with 2 yellow cards, a yellow card for each player, that would be enough, and we will appeal. It's worth pointing out at this stage that basically every club appeals basically every decision all the time. So I think that's the first part of this. I do think there's a frustration that Vinicius fell into this trap. I think that it can be seen in Vinicius' own response when he puts out a tweet in which he says, "I'm sorry," and thanks to the team. And of course, more than anyone else, I guess Vinicius is in a position where he has to give thanks to Rudiger, because it's Rudiger that drags him away from what would have been, I think, a really, really problematic confrontation with the referee as he's going off the pitch. Had Vinicius continued with that, then we'd almost certainly be looking at a much, much bigger ban.
I didn't really notice this at the time because everything happened so fast, and we've seen Vinicius sort of boil over before. It's not the first time. I'm sure it won't be the last. But interestingly enough, and I don't know if that's the right terminology, when the referee brandishes the red card on the touchline, if there's no Real Madrid players there, it almost looked like Vinicius Jr. was about to lunge at the referee. I mean, I'm not suggesting anything would have happened, but he's lunging towards the referee. I mean, we're crossing the line here, you know, with this kind of stuff. We talked about it in the after show about how does Ancelotti deal with a star player who just seems to be bubbling on the edge quite often, particularly when things are going against him. But when you see that reaction, when you see a red card, normally as a player, and I've seen a red card, but I've seen many, many red cards. Sometimes you say something to the referee or you gesticulate with your arm. But it's very rarely you see a player sort of lunging towards an official who is so close. And Sid's right. The fact that there's some Real Madrid players there to stop him, because in that moment, when that red mist comes down, for Vinicius Jr., he's gone. And that's a worrying scenario because he's already pushed a player in the head, whether you agree it was worthy of a red card or not, you can't raise your hands. If he's capable of doing that, when the red mist comes down, what could happen to a referee? Now, I'm only not suggesting he's going to do anything, but if you put your hands on an official, the punishment for that is going to be, it's just going to snowball. And what we saw there was a player who, as soon as he saw the red card, just completely lost it. And it's a worrying scenario for this player because it's not the first time.
And what's interesting to that point, Sid, is that he's been surrounded by veterans since he moved to Real Madrid. Obviously, Toni Kroos, obviously retired last season, Benzema, you've got Modric. You've got a lot of players there who've been there and done that and have that experience that you would hope he would listen to, and you wonder how they're feeling inside with what they're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously Craig will probably have a better view on this than I will, having played the game and having been in dressing rooms and presumably having played with both younger players who were out of control when Craig was older and when Craig himself was younger. But those players, to tell you from the Real Madrid point of view, those players have spoken to Vinicius. Some of those players have tried and actually in truth kind of thought, well, look, there's only so much we can do. There's only so much we control. The other thing, I guess, is, and Craig was talking about it in terms of it being the red mist, this anger that comes down. However much you've been spoken to, I guess in the moment, those conversations kind of aren't there anymore. Now, we don't know what had gone on around it. We don't know what Dimitrescu said to him when he responded to him. We don't know what was said in the conversation when the referee, I'm not suggesting for a minute, by the way, that referee said anything incendiary to him, but the reaction there is bad. I think he was fortunate there were teammates around him because it prevents it from being worse. But yeah, absolutely. This is something that Real Madrid are genuinely worried about and have been worried about for a while, because not so much because of Vinicius himself, but because of the consequences of those actions, the potential consequences of those actions. And I think that Real Madrid have been aware that there have been moments when possibly he could have got himself into more trouble than he has done, that when he's been given yellow cards that maybe could have been red, or when he's got away with saying things. And I think they've always known that at some point there is going to be a red card here, and at some point there is going to be a ban. The ban for this, by the way, would be either 2 games or 4 games, depending on what the referee's report says, and depending on whether the disciplinary committee decide that this is a serious offence or a minor offence, which will essentially depend on whether they decide that what he did to Stolid Dimitrescu was an assault or a push, a more minor issue. And so that's where that decision will be made.
Away from Vinicius Jr, Real Madrid won the game. Couple of things. Sid, Luka Modric, the oldest scorer ever in the history of La Liga for Real Madrid.
Yeah, ahead of Ferenc Puskás, which is pretty good going. I mean, you know, what Luka Modric has done at Real Madrid is just extraordinary. Let's not forget, I know this one gets brought up all the time, but let's do it again, shall we? That at the end of his first season, there was a poll in one of the Spanish newspapers in which he was voted the worst signing of the season. Turned out all right, I think. And he was brilliant today. They did win again. I thought Bellingham in the second half, Bellingham was absolutely fantastic. Of course, it's true that the goal was gifted to him, but he did just about everything in the second half. And I must say, actually, until that goal, I thought Valencia's back four, bearing in mind that 3 of those 4 are 19, 20 and 21, held Real Madrid at bay really, really well. In the end, it wasn't quite enough.
Not quite enough, and for so long, Barcelona fans thought, oh, maybe a little bit of something to hold on to. Real Madrid losing against Valencia, that could kick off 2025 and gives us a little bit of optimism because, of course, surrounding Barcelona at the moment, it's been all doom and gloom because, yet again, they can't register players. Dani Olmo being the latest.
Yeah, well, you say to all doom and gloom, Dan, but of course what tends to happen in these scenarios, and we've seen this over the last 3 years, is that actually the word coming out of Barcelona is, no, they're really optimistic. You know, they're bullish about this. They think they can find a solution. Of course, now, the slightly flippant, but I think fundamentally true response to that is to say, yeah, but Joan Laporta, the Barcelona president, is always optimistic about everything. That's kind of in the nature of his character. Oh, we'll be fine. We'll find a way through. It'll be okay. The reality this time, of course, is that they haven't found a way through. They believe that they can challenge the decision from La Liga and force the federation into in the end, registering Dani Olmo and Pau Victor, who've been largely forgotten in all of this. But if they don't, they will take it to court. And I don't think they will so much take that to court believing that they could win as take it to court believing that they can get what's known in Spain as a cautelar. In other words, it will be kind of put on hold and they can have him registered for the time being and then fix their problems. But of course, it's partly that idea of kicking the can down the road and dealing with their problems later on, which has finally caught up with them this time around.
Now, the cautelar. Thank you very much, Sid Lowe. Are you going to any of these Copa del Rey games?
I'm going to go to see Elche against Las Palmas, which I believe is on... What day is it today? Today's Friday, right? I think it's on Sunday morning.
Of course you are, Sid. Elche, Las Palmas. Thank you very much.
Man of the people.